Joining us today, we have Sarah McAnulty. She is the Executive Director of Skype a Scientist and also a professor at UConn. So welcome, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
But we better
And,
jump back and explain Yukon real fast because people are going to think you're up in.
Way up in Canada.
The University of Connecticut, right?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay. So where do you want to start? Can we start with Skype a Scientist and ask you about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so Skype a Scientist is a program that I started in 2017. Our main mission is connecting scientists with people in as many ways as we possibly can. And so the bread and butter of our program is that we match scientists with classrooms and all sorts of other groups to have conversations about science. So these conversations are all generally Q&A. It's not as though the scientist comes in and gives a lecture, because we really want to foster personal connections between the scientists and the people that they're talking to. And so we have about 5,000 scientists in our database. We serve somewhere between 10,000 and up a year. I think this year we're kind of going to blow that out of the water because we've had a lot of people sign up this year, which is wonderful. And so the basic gist is that if you want to talk to a scientist, you can sign up at skypeascientist.com. You can either choose from a list of 30 different types of scientists, or if you want to get super specific, let's say you have somebody at home that really likes sharks, you can type in the word shark and all of the shark people will come up and you can specifically request them by name. So we have a little scientist search tool on our website that you can use. And that only shows scientists that are still available. So, they're still open. And so, you sign up on our website and in about a week, you'll get a match with the scientist contact information. You and the scientist will chat about what day works best. And then, you just have the conversation. We also have live streams happening like 3 times a week. Those are primarily for people who just want to hop in and don't want to go through the rigmarole of getting things all set up, but they're less personal. They're like 100 people will be there and you type your questions in and you can ask those. We try to bring people in who are super awesome science communicators. This week, we're partnering with the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles to bring in museum professionals, which has been super fun. And we try to bring in a wide variety of people to chat about science with that. And we also do things, we do like public art projects, like we're doing a mural in North Philly, highlighting 3 scientists that grew up in that neighborhood. And we do all sorts of stuff to try to get creative and connect people with science.
Oh, that's really
wow.
With remote instruction the way it is right now. Is this something though a teacher could sign up for and still be able to do like, well, I don't know if they'd have to use Skype or if they're using Zoom or Meet or whichever the platform that they use for their classroom right now. Is this something they can sign up, then have the scientists call in during their online class time now?
Yes, absolutely. So just because we're called Skype a Scientist does not mean that you have to use Skype. We're not really associated with Skype.
Okay.
Though they have promised not to sue us over the use of the name. So that's great. So you can use Zoom, you can use Google Hangout, truly whatever works for you. What we found works really well is the Zoom webinar format, but you can use whatever works. And so, just gather all of your students together and you can absolutely make that work.
Okay, because a lot of the teachers, they're doing is just regular Zoom meetings. Some of them have all the online stuff, but then the rest of it, they're doing like either weekly or more regular a Zoom meeting, trying to get as many of the kids together as possible to be able to help them and answer questions about the assignments. So something like this, I think, would be extremely helpful to them.
Yeah, we'd love to have more teachers sign up. We can handle a lot more than we currently have. So by all means, get good use out of our program.
Oh, sweet.
That's awesome. How do you go about like your programming? Like you said, this week you're working with a museum in Los Angeles. So how do you go about making those sorts of connections?
Really, Twitter is the way we make most connections. That's where I find the most people it's where we recruit scientists. It's where we make connections. It's just, it's a really phenomenal tool for connecting people. And so a lot of people at this point have heard of our program. Maybe scientists from the institution have participated and wanted to kind of make that kind of, I don't know, work new stuff into our program. And so we're always down for partnerships.
Oh, excellent. And is there how far in advance? And is there a listing of the live ones you have? So could a teacher say, oh, like yeah, for an assignment, for example, say, oh, you guys could either write on this or attend this live webinar with the scientist and then do a write up and submit it on that. So do you have where can, I'm sure you do, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
where's the list?
You go to skypeascientist.com. There's a little bar at the top with a bunch of words, and one of them says events. Click events, and then click Skype a Scientist Live. It's a little drop-down menu, and Skype a Scientist Live is one of our options. And so you find the full schedule there. All of the links are posted, ready to go, and we generally schedule about a month out, so you can assign things that are coming up in the next month.
Oh, that's perfect.
Nice.
I mean, that's an
Yeah.
awesome resource for teachers. I did not realize.
Yeah.
I'd heard of Skype Scientist program before, but to be honest, that's it. I didn't know
Yeah.
that you, especially with the live things coming up, because I like being able to have options for students. I love that idea. And
Yeah.
with everything being remote, how fun will it be to still be able to get a classroom guest?
Right. Yeah. We try to make things as interactive as possible. And now, when we can't meet in real life, we're just trying to get creative to figure out how to make things engaging when we're all on the computer.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great point. I mean, everybody's thrown into it now. I think even my kids the other day, they're like, wait a minute. So there's other kids in other countries doing this too. And I'm like, yeah, it's everywhere.
It's global. The whole world's stuck like this right now. Yeah.
That's right. Which is just incredible. But so you're also a scientist. And so
Sort of. So I was a scientist. Okay, well, I am a scientist. That's the first. Yes, I'm a scientist.
Yes,
But
yes.
I graduated with a PhD in August, and so now I'm running Skype a Scientist full time. I'm still, of course, associated with the University of Connecticut, and I do collections for my previous lab. So I help them get squid from the wild. So I'm a squid biologist. And the animal that I work with is called the Hawaiian bobtail squid. And so they're so adorable. They're like this big, and they're nocturnal. And so they swim around at night. And what's really, really cool about bobtail squid is that they have a beneficial relationship with bacteria. And so this bacteria that they're partnered up with is bioluminescent, so it glows. And so they keep that bioluminescent bacteria stored in an organ that they appropriately we call a light organ. And so the light that comes out from that organ is able to be sort of controlled by the squid. And so the idea is that they want to blend in with light coming down from above. So if there's a predator swimming below, normally that predator is looking up, it's trying to find little silhouettes of animals that it can attack. And so with the light provided by the bacteria, that silhouette isn't really visible because it matches the light coming down from the moon. And so that is in and of itself like super cool, very neat symbiosis. But what we really get use out of them for is to understand how animals and bacteria are communicating with each other, because they have nice, neat little one-to-one symbiosis, one type of bacteria to the squid. And if you try to think of like an animal that you might like gut feeling think is more like us, like a mouse or a rabbit, those animals have like 100 or more species of bacteria living in association with them. So it's like trying to understand communication at a party where everybody's talking all at the same time versus two people talking together quietly in a room by themselves. And so when you just have two partners to like kind of decode the communication, makes it so much easier, and allows us to understand broadly how animals and bacteria are communicating with each other. And that's important for us because we have bacteria on our skin, we've got bacteria in our gut, and they influence our health in a lot of ways. And so if we can understand how the squid do it, that'll help us understand how we do it too.
Wow.
Super cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I am kind of curious. How did you get involved with Skype as Scientist? I mean, or you started it? I think you started it.
Yep, I founded it in 2017.
Really? How?
So I don't know. So, I mean, okay, it was 2017. The scientific community was kind of anxious because we weren't sure how science would fit into the new administration. There was a lot of energy. People wanted to do something positive, but didn't really know what to do. Mostly people were just like screaming on Twitter. And so I was like, okay, we got to take all this energy and funnel it towards something positive. And so I wanted to think about how we could reach people kind of across the spectrum of the population in the United States and not just end up preaching to the choir like we sometimes accidentally, repeatedly do in science communication. And I thought, well, schools, everybody goes to school. And so even if you are not interested in science, if your teacher's interested, that can get you like exposure to science in our program. And so I just started by putting out 2 Google Forms on Twitter. I had a decent enough following that I had enough of a kind of nucleation point for things to get started. And so I put out 1 form for teachers, 1 for scientists, and I expected maybe 100 classrooms to sign up. I thought that would be successful, but 800 signed up and 500 scientists signed up. And so that was bananas. And so I matched everybody up by hand. And since then, my best friend from high school is conveniently a bioinformatician, so a computer scientist who answers questions about biology. And he programmed a Python script for matching everybody up. So the algorithm just does it for us based on a number of different parameters. And so that allows us to be totally scalable and be able to handle whoever signs up.
Oh,
Wow.
that is awesome.
It's like it was meant to be.
I know. I'm really grateful for my best friend's name is David Jenkins. He's now a bioinformatician at AstraZeneca.
Oh my goodness.
He's a lifesaver.
So, I know I have heard of Skype the Scientist, and I know Stephen said he had too, but that is just such a neat idea for and it sounds like it helps everybody.
Right. I mean, it gives scientists a way to connect with people that's relatively easy for their schedules, because scientists, as you probably know, are just like so overcommitted already. We have too much to do, not enough time to do it all. And so adding science communication just sometimes feels like too much for people. And so we want to make it feel like convenient, doable, approachable. And so if you sign up, you just get your like assignment. You're like, okay, this is 1 nugget of science communication that I'm responsible for. If we all do that, then we're communicating a huge amount of science without any given one of us being too kind of like over encumbered with the setup.
So when a scientist, well, it's free for a teacher to sign up and do, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then a scientist, how many times? It's because obviously we're at a university, so we work with scientists, and so if they were interested in signing up for the program, how often are they typically contacted?
Great question. So
Afraid to, because they're like, oh no, it'd be too much or something, and so it's kind of what would they expect?
So when a scientist signs up, they completely control the level of commitment that they're making, because they tell us how many classrooms or groups otherwise that they want to be matched with. And so they can choose between 1 and 5. And so if you just want to do 1 classroom, just sign up for 1. That's totally fine. There's no need to feel pressure to do more than that. And so if you choose 5, you might get 2 matches spread out a month apart, or you might get 5 matches all at one time. So that's kind of the risk you take by signing up for 5. But if you sign up for 1 or 2, you do it and you like it and you want to do more, you can just throw your hat back in the ring again for another 1 or 2. That's totally fine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, that's great. Yeah.
So honestly, we're have to send this out to our departments and encourage people to.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. No, this is just fabulous. So.
Now, when you say a scientist, is it just like research scientist, or what? I mean, if someone is working on their PhD right now, doing science still, may they do this as part of their impact to their engagement, or?
Absolutely. PhD students are encouraged to sign up. Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I know a lot of times Sarah and I both work with a number of PhD students because they're around and they still care.
Absolutely. Yeah. I started this when I was a PhD student.
See, perfect. Well, what advice do you have for teachers in today's age? And I don't know. with the, I don't know if we want to stick with just your program, basically best ways of using that maybe, or
I mean,
advice. What do you have for teachers?
general advice is don't be intimidated by science or scientists. We are here to answer your questions, and don't be afraid to ask a scientist to rephrase things, because sometimes we forget. Some scientists forget what's jargon and what's not, and they don't mean to talk over your head. You might just need to say sorry, could you explain that in different words? And they'll be like, oh, right. You don't know what phosphatase means or something ridiculous that only really scientists know. Don't be afraid to just talk to us like people. We are here and ready to chat with you. And if they signed up for the program, they're interested in communicating science with the public. And so please take full advantage of our program. We are here to help you connect science with your students or your group or whoever you are.
Oh, I love that advice, because we do that as teachers.
Great.
We're terrible about using our jargon, and then scientists don't know what we're talking. And then I've been in meetings and I've had scientists, I mean, like full professor. So, I mean, he's been teaching for years, turn to me and say, what is that they're talking about in science content areas?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
First time it happened to me, I was shocked. I'm like, what? I teach this in high school and middle school even. And a scientist has asked me what, and I looked at him and he's like, it's not my area.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't think about that. So it's, if they have a question as a teacher, it's a good test. Another scientist listening to them would even have the same question.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important lesson. Like, scientists know a lot about a narrow thing. Like, I know a ton about squid. So people think, oh, she's a marine biologist, which I am a marine biologist. But then they'll ask me about manta rays. And I'm like, I don't know anything about manta. I know enough. Like, I watched, Planet Earth, and that's as much as I know about manta rays. And so, I think people think that scientists know everything, and we just don't. We know about our thing. We're not geniuses. We're just, very enthusiastic about specific things.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Sarah, did you have any other questions there? Other Sarah?
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think so, but we really appreciate your time meeting with us today, and this is going to be awesome for the teachers and their students. So. Awesome. And the people we have at Purdue. So
perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to our podcast.
Be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review.
An outstanding
on
review.
On iTunes or your preferred podcast player.
Tweet us your science questions.
At Purdue SOS.
Until next time, be super, and remember,
you are someone's hero.
Boiler up.
Hammer down.